Good morning, welcome back to United TV. Manchester United in the Champions League. Lots of stories coming out about Manchester United's transfer policy. We're going to talk through the Ornstein story with Anderson. Also, we're going to be looking at maybe a surprising one as well, but there has been stories that Manchester United also looking at Harry Kane. Lots of teams are going to be interested in him as well. Bayern Munich do want to keep him though. But a lot of this is going to stem from Manchester United, the money that's going to come in from Champions League football. There's going to be big endorsement deals. There's going to be extra money from Adidas. There's going to be maybe like 90 to 100 million pounds from actually qualifying for the Champions League. All these factors, and no deals in January, all these factors point to Manchester United spending big in the summer, but they've got to spend it on the right places. They've got to spend it on the right players. So we have seen Liverpool spend big last summer and get it wrong. So there's going to be definitely some pressure from Man United fans to spend big to try and make sure you get the best possible players you can, because Champions League football is going to be a step up for the squad. I think it's really exciting times for Man United. So I don't think this is a negative. I think it's good to start raising the bar. Manchester United need to do better next season, need to improve. And I'm really looking forward to Champions League football. I think as a football fan, it's great. We've missed out on that competition. We haven't even played in the new format, but there's no doubt there's going to be a lot things to do. One of the things I did read this morning as well is that Michael Carrick, I know there's been speculation about Michael Carrick. So yeah, extra 10 million from Adidas for looking at all these different things coming in. So much more money as well. It is effectively a game changer. Sponsorship deals will go up. Manchester United essentially prints money anyway from its sponsorship deals, but getting back into Champions League and getting back in convincing style is definitely going to change things a lot. And in terms of also looking at players that want to try and play, want to play in the Champions League, they're going to start looking at Manchester United differently. At the moment, Liverpool aren't guaranteed to be in the Champions League. Chelsea are struggling. Aston Villa are struggling. Manchester United really that we can actually make some serious offers on the put these offers on the table now. So we could see regarding this one, but yeah, Mops he's still. But as far as David Ornstein and as far as Manchester United are, he's still the primary target until he's off the table. I know there's a speculation that he's going to go to City, but apparently, according to David Ornstein, and this is why I'm talking about it today because it is a tier one source. David Ornstein is pretty much up there as one of the most reliable people in football. Manchester United, Anderson's still their primary target. We know the story. We know that Manchester United value Anderson. We know that midfield is the priority. And they're saying that now they have got the money to get these deals done. They can afford to spend money on Anderson. They can afford to spend whatever it costs to get Harry Kane if the player wants to come to the club and if the clubs are willing to, I suppose, at least negotiate with Manchester United. But in terms of this one, Nottingham Forest valuation has been discussed at over 100 million. So the price that Nottingham Forest did say maybe it might have been about 2 weeks ago. The figure that was put on a
Forest
potential
did
move
say,
for Anderson was about 125 million or something astronomical. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing something along those lines. I'm not sure if Manchester United can be prepared to spend that big, but it does look a little bit like that's how much it's going to cost to get these sort of deals done. So I'll go through the comments and chat and see what people are thinking this morning. But yeah, Rasmus is basically sold. If you wonder, the Rasmus money is also counted. That's 44 million euros. So that's money in the bank as well. So all these factors coming in does point to one thing is that Manchester United will have significant money to spend. If Man United don't get Anderson, effectively you're looking at any of the targets we talked about, any of the targets that you think are good options, Man United can afford them. So it's not a question of whether Manchester United can spend this much on midfield or this much on other other parts of the team. It is pretty much, if these players want to come to Man United, they can afford to get these deals done. So I think there's a lot of positivity there. Obviously, we have to wait to see this materialize into signings. DJ says, big up to Vitek, voted player of the season in the first division as well. So he was like actually voted for player of the season. I thought Hayden Hackney was like player of the season, but again, I think with that Vitek as well, he might well come to Manchester United as backup goalkeeper. He might also then be he might want to be first team goalkeeper as well. So again, it's another positive. If he stays at United, we've got a good football player. If he leaves, we probably get a decent transfer fee. Let's say DJ's saying for the rest of the season, I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the season. I'm not sure if Michael Carrick can do much more than he's already done. Champions League football secured. I guess you could look at it and say What does he do for the next few games? People are pushing it, saying that maybe he should be looking at just playing the youth, which maybe he would do that. I don't know. It could be, it's something to look out for, isn't it? I think United in the past have quite often done that, and I think people might be scrutinising the next three games, seeing like, what can Carrick do? My question would be like, is there anything Michael Carrick can do now to change your mind, positive or negative? If you think Carrick should be getting the job, I don't see how the next three games, like, there's no intensity now that the job's almost done. And if Man United win the next three games, is it going to change your mind for if you don't want him in? If Manchester United, no, if you want Michael Carrick in, but they lose a couple of games, are you going to change your mind? I don't think fans will change their mind. And I'm not sure Man United will actually make an announcement until the season's finished either. Welcome, Rob, to the chat as well. Say more Premier League midfielders want to join us and say we're a better club than Chelsea. And Alex Scott, Fernandez being talked about as well. It's maybe actually edging towards, with Spurs winning yesterday, it's actually looking like West Ham might be the most likely team to get relegated. So if West Ham get relegated, it's going to be tricky, isn't it? It's going to be tricky. So you would not say no to Kane. Did he re-sign with Bayern Munich? As far as I know, he has not re-signed. So it looks a little bit like sources from like Germany saying that obviously it'd be quite expensive, but Bayern Munich pretty much don't want to let him go. So they want him to stay at the club. But the moment, as far as I know, this is like this morning as well. So as far as I know, Harry Kane, I don't think he's confirmed his future with Bayern Munich. And maybe it depends. Like if Bayern Munich win the Champions League, Harry Kane's effectively won everything there is to win at Bayern Munich. Maybe that's the stage where he then comes back to the Premier League to try and beat Alan Shearer's Premier League goal scoring record. So I think with Harry Kane, it depends on if Bayern Munich win everything this season. I think that might be job done. I think he might have, he might have achieved everything he's going to achieve at that football club, and then look to move on. So yeah, a lot of things up in the air. I think with Elliot Anderson, he's still got a big season with Nottingham Forest. If they get to the final of the Europa League, win that competition, it's going to be probably for him, it's going to be a big decision. Like he can probably decide where he wants to go. If Forest are trying to keep him as well, that might be difficult for Forest. I think given that Anderson's on about 105,000 a week or something like that, he's going to double his money wherever he goes. So I can't see him staying at Nottingham Forest. I can see Nottingham Forest cashing in, and maybe they might be hoping for some sort of bidding war. But I imagine that it's still going to be Anderson's. It's still going to be Anderson's decision, isn't it? The only thing I can think of is like, can Man United convince some of these players to actually join Man United? That's going to be the difficult thing. Neil says very happy after Man United beat Liverpool. There was a lot of positives as well. So I'll go through a few of the comments that I saw just before I start the stream and say Co-Main is saying we want to follow him, want to die for him on the pitch. And I think Mathis Cunha was saying the same sort of thing, looking for him after the match. So I think all this is a good thing. I know there's some people looking at it thinking that, yeah, in terms of like with Michael Carrick, some people think it might be a problem that he's too close to the players. I think we're looking at a different role from Alex Ferguson's role. We're looking at a role where he's going to be he is a coach working with the players on a day-to-day basis. It's not quite the same as management positions maybe like a decade ago. It is a different role at the club. And I think Michael Carrick, the fact that the players have got really good team spirit is a positive. Like we saw yesterday, when things start going against them, and it was like quite a tricky second half. But Man United did respond, did finish a stronger team as well, did create the chances to win the match. And yeah, no, we're talking about the first half. Man United were excellent in the first half, the same as against Brentford. We created chance after chance. If we kind of fixed our midfield, I think if we fixed our midfield, and then it would be interesting. So United to say you're reading reports that Harry Kane actually wants the Manchester United move. So if you see some reports, please post them in the Discord and we can have a look through that. That would be interesting to see that. Um, Andy says, morning, give him the job now, stop speculation and say get on board with everything. It does seem to be a situation where if Manchester United do actually look at if Manchester United actually tie down Michael Carrick now and go, right, here's a contract, here's like some offer, then doesn't it seem like you could be looking at a situation where you go, actually, the bit of stability at the club, everything seems to be going quite well. It looks a bit like the players and Michael Carrick, they're responding well. It looks like there's a good environment. The results are very good. Okay, people can question the performance, but I think we still look at our squad with a lot of holes in midfield. There's a lot of work to do in terms of getting the right players in. Alex Scott on the weekend is a good player. So D Hexion, no, he is good. He's definitely there as well. So that's why if Man United can't get Elliot Anderson, then I don't think it's a midfield player that we couldn't afford at the moment. Like you could say, Elliot Anderson might be the most expensive. Possibly Tonali is like an 80 million signing. I think if we're talking about Anderson at over 100, then Man United could easily afford three top quality midfield players. There's literally no excuse. If we're looking at Diomande as well, who was potentially the most expensive player we're looking at in that position, then maybe some of the transfer news stories are going to happen. So maybe some of these speculative stories where we're linked to players and the pricing is very high. Now maybe we're going to see a big window. He did say if Carrick beats Brentford and Liverpool, I'm fine with him staying. So I'm fine with him staying. He will have competition, and the expectation next season. Don't get me wrong, the expectation will go up. Like as soon as you get into the Champions League, it will be a more difficult job. But what more can he do? You beat Brentford, you beat Chelsea, you beat Liverpool, and this was kind of the situation where all these games were considered like difficult games, not easy opposition. Away to the Bridge, Brentford are a bit of a bogey team. Liverpool obviously are going to be the rivalry. We haven't won twice in a season against Liverpool since for about a decade. So this is like definitely something that doesn't happen every day. Harry Kane might win the Ballon d'Or. No, he might. He might. I mean, Harry Kane has effectively gone to Germany, a bit like Teddy Sheringham came to Manchester United like in 1998, and he's effectively won everything, hasn't he? He's like He's going to win everything at Bayern Munich. If they lift the Champions League and he gets the Ballon d'Or, which I think he will get the Ballon d'Or if they win the Champions League. I think fair play to Harry Kane. He's proved people wrong. I think I said 5 years ago he's a top quality player. People question his injury issues. I don't think there's a problem. He doesn't rely on pace. I think he'd score. He'd be up there with the top two or three goal scorers in the Premier League every season if he came back. And if Bruno Fernandes is creating chances and they're landing at Harry Kane's feet or on his head, we're talking about someone that's going to be banging in 20 goals a season like quite easily. So I think it would be excellent. Harry Kane would fit into our team perfectly, in my opinion. Like you got a perfect mentor for someone like Sesko, because I think Harry Kane does a bit of that as well. Harry Kane is good at linking up play. He's good in the air. He's got a good finish. Got different ways of scoring. I think Benjamin Sesko has similar attributes in that Benjamin Sesko has the benefit of pace, but Benjamin Sesko is good in the air. He's like good with his feet. He can link up play well. So I think Harry Kane would be a perfect kind of. It seems a bit unrealistic, doesn't it? It seems a bit like too good to be true. So I don't want to talk up Harry Kane as a signing, but I think if Man United were looking at a player to walk into the team and suddenly expectations change, I think Harry Kane would be that sort of player. But when I see some of the players that the team's looking at him, I mean Chelsea are monitoring him. If I was Harry Kane, there's no way I consider Chelsea. But I don't think Chelsea can afford Harry Kane. I don't think Chelsea would pay the salary that Harry Kane would want either. And Barcelona. I mean, Barcelona can't get remotely close to that valuation, so I don't think that Barcelona is serious competition. I think the biggest threat with this one is if Manchester United were seriously after Harry Kane, I think the biggest issue would be stopping Bayern Munich keeping him. Like Bayern Munich did not want to lose Harry Kane, and I read something actually maybe a week ago where Bayern Munich has pretty much said that they would turn down crazy, crazy money for any player that's a first team player they feel that they can't replace with at the same quality. So I think when you're looking at Elise, you're looking at Harry Kane. I think offers that might be considered absolutely insane. You might have to go beyond that to actually get these players out of the club. So I think it's going to be a very difficult deal to get Harry Kane. I think for anyone, like not Man United, I think it's going to be genuinely difficult to buy a player from Bayern Munich because Bayern Munich do not want to sell. They don't need the money; they want the players rather than the money. So we'll have to see. I think it's difficult to get players out of Bayern Munich. Nottingham Forest clearly are going to sell. It's just a question of whether Man United can actually get these players to come to the club. Natasha says you say it will be Belieber. I mean, Belieber. I know people questioning Belieber's quality, but no, Belieber's definitely he's playing a different role at Brighton more this season, a bit more defensive, but no, he might well be on there, Natasha. I'm not going to say he's not. I think Belieber's the most likely signing. The question is going to be, who else do Man United sign plus Belieber? Andy says performances will come as long as we keep getting the results. And so the hardest thing is to win games in the Premier League. I mean, we won three in a row now against what you would consider on paper actually quite difficult teams. So three teams we've beaten in a row. Chelsea away, okay, not in the greatest form, but again, we don't normally win at the Bridge. Brentford at home, Liverpool at home. But Liverpool have been in bad form, but they had won the last few games, so it's not like Liverpool were losing game after game. They had come and hit a bit of form and started winning games. So, it's not that Liverpool's still a dangerous opposition. But I think the performances, though, then what we're seeing now is that first half performance against Brentford very good, first half performance against Liverpool very good, and maybe a dip and some errors, but the thing is that we made some errors. We let Liverpool back into the game, but then we responded well and we finished the game strongly. I would say, yeah, for me, I would have loved to have got. I'd have loved to have got maybe like if you're looking at this, if Harry Kane had been signed a few years ago, I think he'd have been a great mentor to any striker at the club. And even if he'd been there when Rasmus was there, it might have helped as well. And I think Harry Kane would definitely have contributed a lot more than we've seen over the last few years. But I think in terms of like this one, Harry Kane for 3 years, while Sesko develops, he would be an unbelievable role model. And also, if you want to actually get back into the mix of winning, say, Champions League matches, being a serious threat in the Premier League, Harry Kane for me would be up there with Haaland as like the two best strikers in the Premier League. So I think if that move did happen, it would be a game changer. I think because if he goes wherever he goes, he's going to score goals in Harry Kane. And so let's go through the comments. Yeah, we could do that, couldn't we? I think people have kind of forgotten about that guy, but yeah, is not signing Harry Kane last season the biggest mistake in the club's history? I don't think he was available, to be honest. I think Man United weren't in a financial position to buy Harry Kane last season. I think when Manchester United were looking at Harry Kane when he was a Spurs player, Spurs were not going to sell him to a Premier League club. So I don't think there's really been an opportunity to buy Harry Kane. I don't think financially it's possible last season, and Bayern Munich certainly weren't going to let him go. The only thing you can see is now that Man United have got a serious amount of money, so maybe it's going to be something different. I would say no, it doesn't seem to align with Ineos transfer strategy, but even Ineos must look at it and realize that there's some players that you can have a transfer strategy that makes sense for the majority of positions, but sometimes you've got to look at it and go, there's actually some options there that don't fit that, and you've got to go for them. You think Kane will retire at Bayern? That's what I'm saying. It might be dependent on this one as well. But no. So Lucky says Harry Maguire, Bayern Munich not selling him, saying no. I'm not saying it's a fake story. I'm just saying it's like Bayern Munich want to keep him, and Manchester United are interested. There's a couple of other clubs interested, but again, it depends on a lot of things, doesn't it? Like when Bayern Munich say they want to keep him, it depends how much, because there's always going to be a price on a player, isn't it? So it might be that if they get a big enough offer, they might consider it. But it's kind of difficult, isn't it? It's difficult to kind of push out there. So how much will they want to sell that player for? Why don't we buy the? Why don't we buy him a couple of years ago? Says United side dice Spurs wasted him. I think the reason here, the straightforward reason is there was literally no way Spurs were going to sell Harry Kane to a Premier League club. Like that was as simple as that. So it wasn't that Man United could try and buy him. No Premier League club could try and buy Harry Kane. Harry Kane was not for sale. It's a bit like Florian Wirtz. Bayern Munich wanted to buy Florian Wirtz, but he wasn't really for sale to a German club. So no, it's impossible, isn't it? It's impossible to, if the club's not going to sell him to you, and Harry Kane was allowed to leave Spurs, but not allowed to go to a Premier League club, it's as simple as that, isn't it? Cheers, Bilal. Appreciate that. So Natasha's saying they might bring back players that are on loan. I think there's a unlikely. I think that's a little bit unlikely with players that are loaned out. I think the players that are loaned out are going to be moved on. I don't think Man United are looking to go back to those. Morning, Mizunan. Good to see you. Yes, I think with saying you should have brought Harry Kane a couple of years ago. I think Harry Kane will be good for another 5 years. Like I don't think there's going to be a problem with Harry Kane. Harry Kane is not dropping off. Okay, the numbers are inflated because he's in the Bundesliga, but I think Harry Kane is going to come back to beat Alan Shearer's record. He probably needs two decent seasons in the Premier League to do that. And at the moment, Harry Kane's not slowing down. He's a bit like Teddy Sheringham. The player you see at age 31, 32 will probably be the player you see at age 35, 36, 37. I don't think that Harry Kane's going to be, he's got no injury issues over the last few seasons. He doesn't have any sort of problem. No, he doesn't rely on pace. He's a skillful player. He's got multiple ways of scoring goals. And if you try and like mark him out of the game, he sets up other people. He's very creative as well. So I don't think there's going to be any problem. Can you imagine like Harry Kane being in your team and Bruno Fernandes picking out, setting him up with chances? It's going to be brilliant if he did come. I think I would say it feels a bit unrealistic, but it's going to be, it's certainly going to be a temptation. I'm not sure how long Harry Kane's got left on his Bayern Munich contract, but if he refuses to like sign any sort of extension, at some point you've got to cash in. Like you've got to look at that one. And so Sesko's overtaken Mbuemo. Yeah, how much if there was like a serious option to buy Elliot Anderson and no, David Ornstein, I think the interesting thing about David Ornstein's information is that Manchester United have the money to buy Anderson. So it's not a question of whether Man United can afford it. And they have said in the past that I think a lot of clubs don't think that anyone's going to pay like 110, 120 for Anderson. But are Manchester United willing to spend about 100? It seems that they might be. And it seems that they might be looking at possibly, when they said they're looking at Anderson, Tchouameni, Tonali, does feel like they do actually have the money to spend and get a couple of those players. And then the other options we're looking at that people go, okay, Alex Scott, or you got Angela Stiller. I think there are definitely backup options for like maybe a scenario where they don't get any of these targets. But in terms of like financial power that United have got, I think United have got the money to get these deals done. The question is going to be, if they go for cheaper midfielders, I think we've got a reasonable amount of money that like a reasonable amount of money to spend on like maybe a left back, maybe a centre back, maybe they're looking at a striker option. I mean, if Man United get in some good quality midfielders like an Alex Scott or Joe Gomez or Angela Stella, they're not incredibly expensive players. And then maybe you would actually have money to go for someone like Harry Kane, or maybe you would have money to go for Diamonde. You could look at Kadioglu, Juve. We should be looking at Fernandez if West Ham get relegated, that we should definitely be looking at West Ham as a club as well. There's a few players there that potentially could be quite good deals. So you don't think Harry Kane would work with Bruno as Kane likes to drop deep to Bruno position? I think Harry Kane's like a good enough player to like you can change the way you're playing, but I think Harry Kane's a good enough player to work with anyone. Like and Bruno Fernandes is adaptable as well, so I think it would work. I think Harry Kane could make it work. I think you can drop Harry Kane in any team, and I think he's adaptable. If he's going to drop a bit deeper, I think he might like dropping deep, but he doesn't need to in this team. Like he doesn't need to drop deep. So uh, I think if you look at Harry Kane, as sometimes Harry Kane's the most creative player in the team. When we got Bruno, then Harry Kane doesn't need to create; he can just be finishing chances. So I think you can make it work. So yeah, no, it's the same like Cristiano Ronaldo was never going to be sold to another Premier League club. Like you just don't do that, do you? It makes sense, and I think German clubs are realizing now that they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. So if you're Kane, if you win everything at Bayern Munich, and it's a bit of an uncompetitive league, then why would you stay there? Like, I can see why people go to Bayern Munich. You win all the trophies, but it depends what you want to do. Like, if Harry Kane achieves everything he possibly can do at Bayern Munich, why not? Why not go somewhere else and achieve extra on top of that? Who else feels like a proper right back is a priority signing? Says Mizunen. I think fullbacks are definitely talked about, but I'm not sure. It depends on the how many. It depends on how big Man United can go in the summer, doesn't it? I think United are seriously looking at like the midfield targets are going to be the priority, and I think that when you start looking at the other targets, it seems like left wing, seems like left back might be priority, but I think that right back for me, if we bought a right back, it would probably indicate that we've actually done like a large number of deals. So I don't think that's going to happen. But Andy says nearly cost you a new TV yesterday. At the end of it was like it's one of those games where when the final whistle goal goes, you're kind of relieved, and then you can look back at the kind of like moments of the game. And So Kane 33 in July. I think Kane's still good for like 3 or 4 years. I did say about when Harry Kane was like 29, 30, people said he was too old. He's now scoring what about 50 to 60 goals this season. And he could come back to the Premier League, and I'm sure he could get 20 plus goals. He's a lot better player than, say, like Ollie Watkins, for example, or who else would be that comparable. I think you could say Haaland's going to be the top quality signing, but I think he could certainly come in and get more goals than a player like Isak. And I think it's just, but it would be, yeah, it's obviously going to be like a short term thing, isn't it? You're not going to be buying Harry Kane then selling him on in 3 years' time. You're going to have to spend the money because you want to get to the next level because you want to win trophies. Like this isn't an investment, so this isn't a deal for Chelsea. I think this is potentially something that maybe like the big clubs in Europe are looking at. For Bayern Munich, though, it's a no-brainer. You've got to keep him at the club. You've got to make sure he stays there. So let's have a look at some of the comments. So is Helgi in the chat? I didn't see any Helgi comments, but if Helgi's in the chat, welcome. So you get to see a different Rich after 3 points, 1 point after. I don't know. Man United beat Liverpool, so this is the. If you're not going to be happy with Man United beating Liverpool, then I don't know. Maybe football's not the sport for you. But that game was. It went from being a fantastic game to suddenly being like a stressful watch, and then we kind of got the relief at the end where we actually. Koeman's winner was pretty special as well. So, no, very good performance. As Tony's saying, we need to get the next Kane. Do you think that is Sesko the next Kane? Like is Sesko somebody that can create, can score goals? Uh, One of the things I would say with Harry Kane is, what can Harry Kane not do? Like Harry Kane is very good in the air. He's great from distance. He can like pick out passes, can create. He can score like tap-ins, scrappy goals. Harry Kane like scores everything. Like for me, he's like one of the most versatile players I've ever seen. Like, and people look at Harry Kane and he's unconventional, but I think Harry Kane's going to be scoring like 20 goals a season until he's like close to 40. So I don't think it's going to be one of these clubs, isn't he? One of these players that just keep. So I don't really mind going for Harry Kane. I think the money might be crazy though, and I do agree that you need to like getting the next Harry Kane is one thing, but sometimes with Man United's transfer strategy, you just think like we do need to get a bit more experience in our team as well. But that's why if we're going for a midfielder, I really rate Anderson. I think he's a top quality player. I think he works in any team in the Premier League. He's in an unbelievable form, so it's probably going to be the most expensive time to buy him. I don't really see his form dropping. He's been playing really well in every competition. He steps up against tougher oppositions as well. If if we see Forest winning the Europa League, Anderson's going to be one of the key reasons. He completely dominated Aston Villa's midfield a few days ago and winning the first leg in that Europa League semi-final. I think Forest, if they go on and beat Villa and then lift the trophy, it's only going to make him more expensive, isn't it? And but this is the price you have to pay to try and get one of the best players around. If Man United don't get him, then everybody else that's available, they're going to be cheaper, but it's going to feel a little bit like you didn't get the best option available. So that's why you have to try. If he does end up going, if you remember like Man United battling Blackburn Rovers for Roy Keane had pretty much agreed to join Blackburn Rovers, and then we got the deal done. We kind of need to do the same sort of thing. Yeah, it's not over till it's over. Man United, hopefully we can be a bit more aggressive with this one. I say he left Spurs because he was tired of not winning. Spurs wouldn't let him go to another Premier League club. I say makes sense he wants to return and beat Shearer's record, and he can't wait too long. Yeah, no, this is probably one of these situations with Harry Kane where Harry Kane's got an incredibly high transfer value because of what he's doing at the moment and what he can do in the next 2 or 3 years. If he's not going to sign an extension with Bayern Munich have said that they don't want to sell players they consider as not untouchable sort of. They can't replace like Harry Kane with another striker unless they're getting someone like Haaland. So they can't replace Harry Kane. So they want a lot of money. But if he's only got a couple of years left in his contract and Harry Kane has no intention of signing, at some point they've got to make a tough decision. Like I don't think even Bayern Munich can turn down that sort of money. If Harry Kane wins everything for them, then maybe they look for the next generation as well. Yeah, it's really tricky. So your concern about Carrick is can he improve players as Areola surely can? What I would say is that since Michael Carrick's been in charge of Manchester United in the coaching, Manchester United have won against Liverpool. They've beaten Man City. They've beaten Arsenal. I think we were unlucky not to beat Bournemouth. Actually, I think that Bournemouth we should have got a penalty in that match. So, and I think their goal would have then not counted because we'd have had the penalty in that move. So I think Michael Carrick has done a lot. That Aiden Heaven has improved a lot. Kobe Mainoo's like so. If you're worried about Carrick improving players, do you not look at Kobe Mainoo yesterday and see a player that's massively improved? Like Kobe Mainoo is playing like the best he's played. If you're looking at say Dorgu, did Dorgu not look better? Did Aiden Heaven not look better? I think there's like loads of like how many goals has Benjamin Sesko scored since Michael Carrick's been in charge? There's pretty much like an endless list, I think, of younger players that have looked far better and improved loads. So I think that I don't think there's any concern about Carrick and younger players. If anything, I think with Ruben Amorim, we saw Kobe Mainoo sidelined, Benjamin Sesko struggling. I think there was a lot of issues. So Areola, how long has Areola actually been in charge of Bournemouth? And how long are we talking about these players? We're talking about players improving over years, aren't we? Michael Carrick's had since like January, it's like the end of January. So, and we've hardly played a lot of games either. So I don't know. I'll just say to this one, say if you watched Paris Saint-Germain play against Newcastle, Newcastle were all over that team and they should have beaten them. So to say Man United got no chance of beating Paris Saint-Germain, we beaten Arsenal, beaten Man City. Arsenal could still lift that competition. So I don't think it's easy to say that we're that far away. Paris Saint-Germain conceded 4 goals at home. So you can like talk about Paris Saint-Germain's attacking play, but defensively they conceded 4 and they were shocking. So they were kind of lucky that Bayern Munich shipped in a lot of goals as well. So I don't know if a team wins 5-4, effectively it's a close game, isn't it? They've narrowly beaten Bayern Munich at home, but they've conceded 4 goals. So there's a lot of issues in Paris Saint-Germain's team, like they're shipping a lot of goals. So I wouldn't be overly concerned about it. That Man United, that we're not going to take the same team into Europe, are we? And so Sporting beat that Paris Saint-Germain team. They're one-off games, aren't they? If Man United played Paris Saint-Germain in the group stage, I would not be like thinking, oh no, how can we? Because it's the same as like Man United or let's put it this way, Arsenal played against Wolves, and you look at that and go, how on earth can Arsenal get no not win that game 5-0 and Wolves got a draw? So I'll say we're not playing PSG. We don't know though, do we? That when Man United enter the Champions League, we're going to play like a lot of big teams, aren't we? And I'm looking forward to it. I'm not worried about it at all. I know there's like a few people saying, "Oh, we can't trust the players. We're gonna like." It's a big group stage. There's not a lot to there's not a lot to go on. Man United in the Champions League next season. If Spurs can do quite well, if Newcastle can do quite well, I wouldn't really be I wouldn't really be too concerned. It'd be interesting to see, actually. It'd be interesting to see how, if Arsenal get through to the final or Atletico get to the final, that are a bit more defensive teams. How do Paris Saint-Germain and Bayern Munich go against those teams? I still think like Bayern Munich have got a good chance to actually win it in the second leg. And And Stephanie says, I generally think we'd have played much better with Dorgu in our team for all 14 games under Carrick. And maybe I think sometimes like with looking at United's form at the moment, the thing that's probably hurt us the most this season is probably the depth of our squad. So if you're looking at the transfer deal, so talking about say Anderson or other midfield options, the important thing here is that not about whether United should sign Anderson, but it's clearly that United know what the weaknesses in our team are. And the weakness in our team yesterday was Benjamin Sesko got a knock. He had to go off injured, and effectively we didn't have any replacements. Like so, effectively we had to then switch our team, change our team shape, and we couldn't do this as well. So can the same team play better under Carrick next season if he changes his tactic and approach? We're not going to have the same team though, are we? I mean, people think it's the same team, but there's going to be a big transfer window. Agate is going to be sold. Probably Xerxes gets sold. Probably Casemiro gets sold. We're going to see new players come in. So no team's going to have the same team next season. So I think people looking at this thinking that every team's going to be the same next season. That Man United last season and we didn't have Cunha and Buemo, Benjamin Sesko, and Lamens. and you could argue that those have been our best players this season. So if Man United do the same sort of thing and bring in new players that become like better than like Agate, better than Xerxes, better than a couple of other people that are going to be leaving, but the squad's going to be very different, isn't it? So in terms of changing his tactics and approach, are people genuinely questioning like the because Man United at the moment say like, since January they've won more points than Arsenal, who might win the Premier League. They've got more points than Man City. So to change like, to criticise the tactics doesn't make a lot of sense because we're winning games of football, and you don't become third in the Premier League with luck because there's a lot of teams that have spent a lot of money trying to also achieve the same aim. And Areola at Bournemouth's getting a lot of credit, but Manchester United are still finishing significantly above Bournemouth. And people are talking about other teams that play well in the Premier League. Man United are finishing above everybody at the moment, apart from Arsenal and apart from Man City. So I don't think that Carrick could do much more taking over. He's obviously gonna change things next season because they're going to be looking at changing the coaching if they keep him. If they do bring in another manager, if anything, Michael Carrick's actually made it quite difficult for any replacement manager to come in because the expectation is now going to be quite high. That now that we've got third in the Premier League, I think the expectation next season is can you get the same again and do pretty well in the Champions League? And like things saying, yeah, we might play quite big teams in the Premier League. Like we might play teams in the Premier League that are quite big, but I don't think that we should be overly worried about it. That if you can get third in the Premier League, then what's the worry in the Champions League? Like most of the Premier League teams near the top are going to be pretty competitive in the Champions League. So I'm not expecting to win the Champions League, but I'm not expecting to get knocked out in the group stage. Mr. B says, you heard we'll go after Thiago, but I still think we'll keep him for one more season. I've seen him linked, but I haven't seen anything significant. I've seen like a couple of people talking about him, but I don't think there's any actual new news out there. So I don't think we're going to be seeing too much of a problem. I think with Thiago that again, he's going to be on the radar at Man United. He's had an incredibly good season. I think Manchester United are pretty much looking at Premier League players. So So now that Champions League is secured, our targets know it. This is something that we talked about. That how does Manchester United's transfer strategy change? And I think the change is now going to be that now we can actually we can have a conversation with players now, whether it's Anderson or whether it's going to be Tonali or it's going to be potential other top signings or too many, for example. And now we can actually say, look, we've got Champions League football and we can sell the project. So there was a story of IndyCar about 4 or 5 days ago where it said that Man United had apparently put an offer in for Anderson. So we don't know if that's true, and we don't know with this one. So the Tony. I think with this one, I'm not saying that Harry Kane will be a priority, but it depends. I think with Man United, that they're going to fix midfield first, and then it depends how much money's left. But you have to do sensible recruitment as well. If Harry Kane's seen as a player for just a couple of years, then clearly it's probably not worth that sort of money. But if you see him as being part of like a, say 3 4 year project where Manchester United then actually develop players underneath him and makes a bit of sense because if you consider missing out on Champions League football, it does cost you about £100 million. So spending a bit of money to make sure you almost guarantee staying in there for a few years probably makes sense as the team gradually improves as well. You have to definitely get a combination of younger players for the future and players that are ready now. So I think at the moment Benjamin Sesko is probably there or thereabouts now and will improve. I think the midfield at the moment it's going to be completely different, isn't it? I really like the progression that Mainoo's making. It's about getting the players to go alongside him as well. So if you watch the game yesterday, Ko Mainu had a really good game. I think maybe it went under the radar a little bit until he got that goal, but he was pretty good performance throughout that one. Um, I would say this though, it's really difficult to actually. I know a lot of people are negative about the transfer window, but this time last season, we did say that Man United were going to spend about £200 million on attacking players, and they did exactly that. They spent about £200 million. They got Mbeumo, Cunha, and Sesko, and people were thinking it wasn't going to happen. And yeah, big up to you, Daz. Yeah, I think Anderson's most likely destination is City. I'm not going to say that's not the most likely destination, but I think if you're looking at the story that Man United clearly got money to spend, if anybody thinks Man United won't spend money, then I think that's going to be yeah you're going to be surprised because there's no doubt that Man United have got the money to spend. It's just a case of making sure you spend it. In my view, it's about spending it in the right place. Like if you're going to spend most of the money in midfield, it makes a lot of sense. If you're going to start spending, say, 100 million on Diamande and then going quite cheap on midfield, for me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. There's a, that's not fixing the biggest issue of our team. You've got to make sure that midfield's got to be good, but also some of the problems we've had in recent games, I think against Liverpool, against Chelsea, maybe against Brentford as well. It just shows there's like a lack of depth. There isn't a lot regarding this one. Say Manchester United likely end up in pot two or three, the Champions League draw. I don't think it would be a disaster, Yali. I mean, I know there's a lot of people worried about Champions League. I would just say, just don't worry about what pot we're in. That we should be a team that's competitive in the Champions League. Last time we were in Europe, we nearly won the Europa League. So I think Champions League, I don't think is going to be a big concern. Jim says, did we get third in the league because of one game a week? And so it'd be dramatically different next season. And I can see City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea better. I don't think Chelsea will necessarily get better. I mean, I'd imagine that like Liverpool are trying to replace Mo Salah. City have already bought some good players, haven't they? And say we have to be better as well. Does anybody actually really think we won't be better next season? Like if we're looking at our squad, do you think we'll have a worse squad next season? I just can't see how we would have a worse squad. At the moment our squad has very little depth, hardly any backups on the bench. There's not a lot as well. And saying Chelsea will improve. When have Chelsea improved though? Like Chelsea spent quite big on a lot of players every single season. I don't know. I don't know why you think Chelsea will definitely improve. If Spurs stay up, they could be top six next season. I don't know. Spurs are rubbish. So I don't know why there's negativity. Why do you think that Spurs can spend? Spurs are going to finish just above relegation. They're going to have zero Champions League money. They're not going to have players wanting to go to them. How are Spurs going to be a better team than Man United? I don't think that's a problem. I think Chelsea have got massive problems as well. I think if you're looking at it, Liverpool spent a huge amount of money. I think United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City are going to be the top teams. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think that I don't see why there's overwhelming negativity when Man United are in good form. And you can be negative if you want to, but what's the point? We just beat Liverpool. It seems a bit strange. Um, Chelsea don't even know who the manager's going to be. Arsenal, I suppose, are a bit up in the air. Liverpool don't even know who the manager's going to be. Um, Man United need to look at investing in their team, and I think it won't be a problem, to be honest. I think the main thing now is that Manchester United know we got Champions League football. We know what our targets are. If we don't get our targets, it seems like if we try and go for Anderson and don't get him, then we move. We go to different other targets. If we try and go for another big target and don't get him, then we go for someone else. It's not a big problem. I think United having a short list of players and targets to go for is not a problem. Last season, we didn't get our top targets. We targeted Delap, we didn't get Delap, and it actually worked out for the better. Maybe we looked at Gyökeres, we didn't get him, and there were a few options we missed out on. So if we miss out on Anderson, I don't think it means that City are going to walk the league. The same way that a lot of people were saying that getting Isak and getting Wirtz meant Liverpool were going to do the treble. So I don't think that it matters. Anderson is one player. If Man United get him, great. He fits our team loads, but I don't think he makes City unbeatable. I don't think he's a good player, but I think with City they play a different way as well. I think he suits Man United more than City, and we just have to see. Um, so the 8-year contracts with Chelsea, so we'll rip Chelsea apart with the new rules. Yeah, Chelsea are going to have some problems because in terms of like how much money you can spend, it's really difficult for Chelsea. They've got very long contracts. They won't be able to move players on. They're probably not going to make profit from that. They're not going to be able to spend as much in the short term. And if they miss out on Champions League football, it's not Chelsea have got a very weird way. They can't spend big. They got some high price tags on players. They have spent a lot in the past, so I don't really worry too much about Chelsea. So if Chelsea if Chelsea are not careful, they will end up 15th. So you're welcome to that spot, by the way. Has that been occupied by Spurs at the moment? I don't know. They gave Racine. I think anyone that gets a lot. So they gave Racine a 6-year contract exactly. To be honest though, Anderson's considered the best midfielder in the league this season. Last season it was Belieber. The season before it was somebody else. There's not loads of difference between players in different. But Anderson's obviously one of the best players, but I don't think Anderson suddenly makes a team unbeatable. Like for me, City is all about Haaland. That's the main reason they're winning trophies, and yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, City has still been playing disappointing football despite all the money they've been spending. Let's say, yeah, to be fair, yeah, I get. Do you think Man United actually know? Do you think Manchester United actually know who the manager is going to be, but they're just waiting to announce it? Because I can see they're talking with potentially other head coaches, but I'm not sure there's actually going to be serious interest in other ones. That if you, I think Man United are actually just looking at trying to get different coaches to work with Carrick. I think that's what they're looking at. So who would you want, Natasha? So you think that Man United need to employ someone that's like, say, like Carrick's a yes man, but you have no idea what. No one knows if Carrick's a yes man. This seems to be like a random opinion put out there on YouTube that Carrick's a yes man. If you come in and you disagree with everybody above you in your job, no matter what your job is, then you're not going to be very successful. If you come in and disagree with everyone that's your senior management, then you're not going to get on, are you? That every head coach that comes in has to actually has to actually work with people above them. Mizuna says we need a right back more than a striker. Um, I don't know that Benjamin Sesko is our only striker. We've got Mazraoui and we've got Dallo that can play as right back. I would say I think we need to have like if we're going to replace right back, it's like replacing the whole team, isn't it? I would say glad we didn't get to lap. There was an article last week saying he wants to go back to Ipswich. Obviously knows his level. He would have been like £30 million, wouldn't he? And at the time, it was felt like it might be not a bad deal. So no, that's what I mean. Like Delap wanted to go to Chelsea. I think he's on a quite a big contract there, wasn't he? Like 150K a week, and it must have been like 6, 7 year deal. So these sort of contracts are really hurting Chelsea. That any player that goes there is on a massive contract. I think that we've got. You've probably got how long like someone mentioned Cole Palmer and it's like Cole Palmer's got a really expensive price tag, but I don't think we should be getting Cole Palmer at that sort of money. Like we shouldn't be helping Chelsea out financially as well. So Lucky says I've heard Chelsea are now getting a transfer ban, which interestingly, Andy says I don't care if he's a yes man, he's getting the job done. I'm kind of in the same boat that all this kind of questions about whether Carrick's too friendly with his players or whether he's a yes man. Man United beat Liverpool. Man United beat City and Arsenal. So yeah, I don't think there's a big problem about Michael Carrick. If you're looking for a problem with Carrick, it's basically like this. There's just speculation, isn't there? And so the myth that Carrick is a yes man is nonsense. He's a collaborative manager, regardless of who we appoint. We need a collaborative manager. If somebody comes in and they don't want to work with Christopher Vivell, they don't want to work with Wilcox, and they have problems with the players, it's not going to work no matter who it is. Like it's not going to be a sustainable relationship. Do you think that is Pep Guardiola a yes man? Like because he effectively gets he doesn't get loads of say on the players. At Man City, they have other people that decide which players are coming in. I'm trying to think of other examples. Is Areola a yes man? That they sell all the best players every single season, and Areola says nothing. So he must be a yes man as well. I think this notion that people are that managers are going to be disagreeing or head coaches are going to be disagreeing with the director of football is ridiculous. Like, of course they don't. But if you're a director of football, your job is, and if you're a coach, your job is to coach. Like, he's not a manager. Like, we don't have managers at the club, so he's a coach. He gets on well with the players. There's a great team spirit. If you watched Man United against Liverpool yesterday and saw a team that dominated Liverpool in the first half, concede like maybe a couple of individual errors, which can happen. You don't coach that. That just happens in football, in elite sport. And then you see the team respond and actually then do enough to win the game again. Against a team like this, a dangerous team. We gave away a couple of stupid goals and then still won the game, found another level. I think the team spirit is there. And I think when people are, if you remember like seeing maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, and you see people with their heads down, people walking around the pitch, people not engaged, that's a problem. And that's not happened since Carrick's been in charge. Okay, sometimes we'll not win the games, but I don't think you can criticize the effort. There's definitely a lot of positives on the pitch. Let's go for some of the comments as well. But it was still boring football. Did you watch the game? It was boring. How was it boring football? Like, so you saw Manchester United score 2 goals against Liverpool. You saw other chances, and you thought it was a boring game. Okay, maybe football's not for you. Like, did you find Brentford boring when Harry Maguire had a shot clawed off the line and Manchester United were like on top for? No, it's so if people find football boring, if you want to see boring football, Man City possession based football was really boring. If you want, but Man United against Liverpool at one point yesterday, it was pretty much open football. It was end to end. I don't see what the problem is. I think one thing we saw is that when those games happen like this, I've seen Man United capitulate loads. Remember the Champions League when we were 2-0 up and we folded and we lost those games? What we've seen this season is under Carrick is those games where we started off well and then faltered a little bit, we've actually started clawing out results and we started winning games. And people can say, oh, we hung on against Brentford or we were quite defensive against Chelsea or we're lucky. But at some point, you have to look at it and say, we won the game and we created enough chances to score a lot of goals. And we scored 3 goals against Liverpool and we scored 2 goals against them at Anfield and beat them. So I poured my scarce mate of whiskey at full time. Very nice then. No, can you imagine like if you're Liverpool, you kind of got back into the game and then Man United found another level and they got back there. So last season we'd have lost that game, says Andy. I think we would have. Like I think when the team's under pressure, we saw the team folding. I think what I'm seeing now is that when the team's under pressure, I see the players stepping up and responding, and I see that Man United are actually doing well. And I think there's a lot of people talking about style of football, etc., etc. Man United have scored about what 25 more goals than they did last season in the Premier League, and Manchester United playing attacking football and winning games 3-2. Didn't we see that under Alex Ferguson? Aren't we seeing the same sort of football when talking about people are talking about this mythical kind of results where we need to win every game 5-0. That doesn't happen. If you watch the treble winning season, loads of games were 2-1, 3-2. There was lots of games like this, and I enjoyed it. I think if you're watching Man United win games that are tight, like we've always had this sort of pattern of winning games like that difficult games. Liverpool games have never been easy. Like regardless of the team, we had a dominant treble winning team. Liverpool still caused us big problems as well. So I think Andy's right. I think last season we could have like thrown that game away. That's just speculation, though, Marps. That we have no idea. Now, if Man, you can make the same point and say if Benjamin Sesko had like finished that chance he got early on, we'd have scored another goal. Um, I don't think there's any point in talking about the players that are missing. Like Liverpool spent half a billion. Liverpool's squad on the pitch yesterday cost a fortune, and I think every single player in that starting lineup for Liverpool had won a Premier League trophy. So there's no excuse for Liverpool. They won a Premier League trophy. They didn't have Isak last season. They didn't have Ekitike last season. They're saying under Carrick, 33 points out of 42. Is that the record? 33 out of 42. If Carrick gets the job, transforms the players, friend to coach, he is the coach though, Jim. Are you concerned that he gets on too well with the players? Because isn't that the same as like Mourinho with Lampard and Terry at Chelsea? And I think it's a positive thing that he's got a good relationship with the players. I think the problem's going to be I think the problem's going to be if you have a head coach that's essentially falling out with the players. Whereas I see with like Carrick, Carrick has benched Cunha, he's benched Sesko, he's like benched other players as well. So it's not like he's got favourites in the squad. I think we've seen that he's actually getting the best out of the players. I think we've got a good team spirit, Jim. I think we should be happy that the people that maybe were detrimental to Man United's team spirit have actually been moved out. And at the moment, it looks like there's going to be, you know, it looks like the team spirit's back there, and that's something we used to have. So the fact that the players are getting on well with Carrick and the results on the pitch are good, we covered more distance than Liverpool yesterday. So to say that Man United are undertrained or not fit, that we covered more distance on the pitch than Liverpool yesterday. We beat them. I think there's a lot of positives. Tiger says it's been like 3 to 4 seasons since we had a positive goal difference. It's usually close to neutral. What's it at the moment? Is it like plus 15 or 16 or something? So I say Liverpool had their players available at home earlier this season. We still beat them. Say I want style of play, but then when we win, we are bad. But when we play well and lose, we are good. The logic is baffling. Now, the Premier League table doesn't lie, does it? If you look at the Premier League table, Man United are a better team than Liverpool based on this season. If you look at all the games we played this season, we beat Liverpool twice. And we picked up more points than Liverpool. Liverpool has struggled a lot against teams this season, and they've had most of their players available for most of the season. So I don't think we can worry too much about that. If you want to point to the other teams who've had Champions League games, other teams have got bigger squads as well, so they've got more depth. We've got limited options sometimes, but just be happy that Man United are getting Champions League football. That's what I'd say. If we lose the remaining games, would I still give it to Carrick? I remember in like 1999, 2000, Man United locked up the league. We were winning the league, but we won the league by about, I think we had about 15 points on Arsenal or 12 points on Arsenal with 3 games to go. We lost every single game at the end. It doesn't make a difference. And I think if you're looking at the situation now, then a lot of people are thinking like, does Michael Carrick give an opportunity to academy players? He might do, but I don't think it's going to I don't think it's going to be a complete results based thing, is it? 'Cause if Manchester United are looking longer term, I think in terms of making the overall decision, it's going to be like, what's the best fit for Manchester United? Like, if you've got a set of players that are responding well with the head coach you got, and you're looking at maybe changing the coaching around that team, then is it going to be a big gamble to bring in a different coach? And it will take a bit of time for the different coach to bring in their own ideas. Is that going to be also risky as well? Um, I'd say, Natasha, if you're around in a couple of years' time or whenever we'll start lifting trophies, then feel free to get in the chat. But yeah, who knows? So Lucky says you're going to give him next season, so you don't care about the results next game. So let's go through a few of the comments. Then I'll put a poll in the chat just to kind of gauge opinion on this one. And I go like, would you give Michael Carrick the job? So I'll just be a straight yes no. Would you give Michael Carrick the job next season? I don't know what people think about this one, but we'll see. Because I did say that we'll talk about this after we got Champions League football done. Did anybody think that was possible when he took over from Ruben Amorim? I doubt it, to be honest. So, so just a yes, no. Would you give Carrick the job? See what people think. So, is it just 3 more points to secure third? So potentially a win against maybe like no, if third secured, I'd be like pretty relaxed regarding like what what you see on the pitch. Then I think it's an opportunity if we get third secured against Sunderland. The Sunderland have been quite poor. Is it sustainable that he needs to up the training because our players are not as fit as we should be? We did cover more distance on the pitch than Liverpool, Jim. I mean, uh, are we? I don't think like. Do you think when our players are not fit enough? Like, do you think our players should be like are not as fit as they should be? Because looking at games recently, then I don't know. I don't see it as a fitness issue. I don't see Man United like say a year ago. I saw Man United actually really struggling in the last sort of 15, 20 minutes of matches. I've seen Manchester United this season actually finishing fine. Like we weren't under pressure in a lot of games. I feel like we're not suddenly fading. We're actually covering more distance on the pitch. So I don't know. I don't think it's a fitness issue. I think from what I've been seeing, I think the fitness issue is fine. I think one thing, the big thing that's hit us this season is a couple of injuries and Man United's depth. If you look at when Mainy's not playing and Agate's playing, it's a big drop off. So I just don't think there's going to be. I don't think there's a fitness issue. I think there's a squad depth issue, and I think that the issue is going to be, say, it's the goals we can see that have been the problem. Potentially, until yesterday, Man United hadn't actually considered many goals from errors. So no, it could be that one. Alex says 100% because I don't live in a fantasy world. I don't think there's going to be necessarily, yeah, necessarily lots of option there. And Wizard Bet says, I'm intrigued to see that now we've secured Champions League. I want to see if Carrick can still motivate these players to win. It all counts, but it may be a hard ask with a World Cup round the corner. I think it's going to be very difficult for some players to, like, when you've got a World Cup, and it's almost like the intensity's gone now because you've got Champions League secured. I think with Casemiro, it might be interesting because for Casemiro, he doesn't really benefit from anything next season. So, and he's still playing very well. I think with Bruno Fernandes, he's going to be always trying his hardest anyway. But Bruno Fernandes is going to be pushing. I'd imagine actually on a separate point, Bruno Fernandes is really pushing to get that assist record as well. And I'd imagine that Bruno Fernandes, he's the leader off the pitch in the dressing room. I think Bruno Fernandes will be making sure the attack is fully motivated for that because he's going to want to try and get a couple more assists to beat the record. And also, I think there's going to be a couple of players that maybe like with Dorgu and maybe like with a couple of other players, maybe you got a chance to kind of show that you can be involved a bit more next season. So I think I'm hoping this is the case, and there's still things to play for. I did see this comment which made me agree a lot actually, and said I think our biggest issue at the moment is depth. Like our depth is our biggest issue. That and the problem we had at the start of the season. Do you remember that there was a stat that said every time Casemiro went off and we brought on Agate, we looked like there's a problem. Do you know one thing I think as well? When you're looking at this is something as well that people don't really talk about is when you're looking at say the last 10 games, compare it to the first 10 games of the season. When we were trying to cover a crazy amount of the pitch, we got our wing backs on the side, we got three at the back, we got Casemiro and Agate trying to cover a huge amount, or Casemiro plus Bruno Fernandes when we're trying to play that 3-4-3 that's not really working very well, and it does require athletic players in midfield, I think that it's not that we were unfit, it's like Casemiro was just being run into the ground. Now, under Carrick, when we're playing a more sensible 4-2-3-1 and the team shape looks a lot better in matches, then you see Casemiro not being run into the ground and you see Casemiro playing 90 minutes. Like Casemiro's played 90 minutes for most matches under Carrick. And you can see the difference is that our team's actually got a more sensible shape. We look better. We're not pulled out of position. We're not run through like we used to. And it's sustainable. Like players can play over 90 minutes because Eric Ten Hag and Ruben Amorim were just setting up the team in such a weird way that it put loads of holes in our midfield. And now we play a lot more sensible structure. We look better. It's just quite basic, isn't it? So I think that's one of the things that people made it look like our players were unfit because we're trying to do something insane. Like the amount of distance Casemiro was trying to cover wasn't possible. But the only person that we looked at the most athletic players in the league to try and cover it. So I think there's definitely there's definitely mitigating circumstances there. So let's go through a few comments. I see a loaded question there from James saying, "Would I take Rashford back for depth?" Do you know what? It's probably. I think you've got to be realistic and say, yeah, Rashford's not going to come back. And the situation, like maybe it could have been resolved differently 18 months ago, 2 years ago, but I think you have to be realistic and say that for Marcus Rashford, then I think the club's moved on, and it's you see the team spirit Man United have got. I think Man United need to be very careful about trying to undo some of the stuff they've done. And with Marcus Rashford, I think it's just like he's moved on, and I think United should. It's the same as like people talking about should we get back Rasmus or should we get back other players that are loaned out. I think like with Marcus Rashford that if things had gone differently, it might have been fine. But I don't know. I think too much has happened, and I think Manchester United have moved on, and I think Man United like the team we're in now. I'd be looking at I'd just be looking at that and saying I don't think that I'd get him back for depth now. I think it's just that's kind of the time's gone. I'd be looking at the next generation now. I think United like I think Rashford like actually he's a better player than people were talking about a year ago, and I think he's still going to be a better player than a lot of some of the players that come through that we hope are going to be good. But no, I think yeah, I'm not going to say anything too negative about Rashford because I don't know. We don't all know the full story on both sides, but no, I think for Man United, it's about looking for the future now, isn't it? That the players we bring in, I think there's definitely going to be a bit of a shift in terms of like making sure these people are, people looking at. I think a lot of people are looking at what's sustainable, players coming through, the mentality, etc. And I think one of the things I do like is that United have got the personalities right. So conceding possession might be a tactic to play our strength. He's saying like is Casemiro playing like 3D chess, Stephanie? Is he giving the ball away deliberately so we can then counter attack? So sometimes under Alex Ferguson, Man United did sometimes concede possession to invite teams onto them. We did that against Everton actually. We did let Everton attack us and then hit them on the break. So sometimes it's a decent plan. I was saying Sesko turns into Zlatan 2.0. I hope so. Um, no, I don't think so, Jim. But clearly Casemiro is not a pacey player. But again, he looked worse in a badly set up team. I think Ruben Amorim changed the perception of a lot of players, to be honest. As like I said, I don't think Marcus Rashford's interested either. So goals conceded under Amorim 1.58 per game, under Carrick 1.41 points per game. Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? 2.29 points per game is like that must be like title winning form, isn't it? So that 38. What's 38 times 2.29? It sounds like it should be quite close. If you get over like 2 points a game, you're going to be pretty. You're going to be definitely in the top four. Um, and Mr. B says getting in Holland was a masterstroke as well. Would I take Carrick? I think at the moment, like results have been really good. So if you're looking at a results-based business, which is what football is, then Michael Carrick can't do any more. If you come in the club where we're like what 3 points behind, we're 3 points behind Liverpool, and you finish the season at the moment we're 6 points above him. I don't think there's anything. I don't think Michael Carrick could have done anything more in the time he's been given. And at the moment, if you're looking for some transition, like Man United are going to have to replace Casemiro. I think we need some stability at the club. I don't think when we talk about stability, I think the fact that coaching is there, there's a lot of things in place. I would not change too much too soon. Do you remember when David Moyes came in and changed loads of things? And I think at Man United, you're going to change some of the players. I think I don't see a good reason to change the coach as well and because he's got good results, like people can argue about style of play, but let's be realistic. Style of play is not as important as getting wins. And like we can be like 15th in the league, and people going, "I do like the style of play," but the style of play will bankrupt you if you finish low down the league. So I'll take him for a small extension. I would just say, I would just honestly, if you're looking at it, what's the worst that can happen if your Carrick stays for another year? What's the worst that can happen? Because at the moment, the worst that can happen is we grind out results, but we're not getting beaten badly. What's the heaviest defeat we've had under Carrick? Is it by one goal? Like, is 1-0, 2-1 the worst defeat we've had under Michael Carrick? I can't remember if we've lost any other games. Like we lost to Newcastle, was that 2-1? I think we lost to Leeds, that was 2-1. Has Michael Carrick lost by more than one goal this season at Man United as head coach? Because if he hasn't, then for me that tells you something that we're not getting beaten badly by any team. And we played pretty much all the teams in the league since he's been head coach. Under Ruben Amorim and Eric Ten Hag, we got some very heavy defeats, like really heavy defeats. And at the moment, we're not really getting. We lose by a goal. That's it. 87 points. 87 points is like Alex Ferguson won plenty of titles with that amount of points. So, so United said, I said that's what I would mean. I would take wins over style of play any day of the week. Yeah, people are saying it's not sustainable, but I don't see what's not sustainable. That we're not looking that. Yeah, it's not. It's not like we got outplayed in Barcelona in the 1999 Champions League final. Bayern Munich had loads of chances, and we won it right at the end. There's a reason why we call it Fergie time because Man United won it at the end. Like we didn't win games 4-0 after 10 minutes. Like we had we had some like dramatic twists and turns in matches, and we had like people coming off the bench to win it, and it was fun and it's exciting. So I think that the way the team's playing now, like yesterday was like one of those classic games where I could rewatch bits of that game yesterday, look at Khomeini's highlights, look at look at the goals we scored, and look at it and think, oh, actually, we messed up a bit. Ahmad Jolly messed up a little bit, but it didn't matter because we actually won. So Tony says you want to win and start a play. So if Arsenal win all the matches, I don't. Did I? What style of play would Alex Ferguson have in the treble winning season? Because a lot of it was like there was a lot of counter attacking going on. There was a lot of you did have to say as well though. It was a situation where we did definitely have a ridiculous team. Like we did have a ridiculous team, and we were like Bayern Munich are now. We did buy all the best players from every other Premier League team, so we did have an advantage at that point. We don't have the advantage now. We've like been able to buy every single player. If this was the '90s, we'd have bought Holland off Man City, wouldn't we? And then we'd have bought Declan Rice off Arsenal. We'd have just taken those players years ago, and but it's not going to be like that, is it? Um, Mr. B, it's because we're a dominant team. So, do you remember that goal we scored against Arsenal in the Champions League? Beautiful counter-attacking goal. I think it had Park, Ronaldo, and Rooney involved. I think that's kind of like some of the goals I remember. So, let's say if you want to, maybe with this one as well is going to be that with style of play, Michael Carrick's obviously got no transfers so far, and obviously the situation at the club is that they bought nobody in January. And apparently, I did read this today as well. I don't know whether this is going to be what people think about it, but apparently Michael Carrick is a bit involved regarding transfers next season. So, regardless of whether he stays or not, I think Michael Carrick's plan in terms of how he plays on the pitch is aligned with like Wilcox, Barada, etc. So, in terms of if they want to play 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, they're still talking to Michael Carrick about what things he. Michael Carrick's going to know the players very well. He's going to know the players leaving the club as well and what United's going to lose as a team. So Michael Carrick will be somewhat involved, which is interesting because in terms of like midfield, if somebody knows what a Champions League winning midfield looks like, I think Michael Carrick's got first-hand experience of actually standing in it. So I think there's definitely going to be a few positives with this one. I think he's definitely got a good chance that no, I did say this as well. Somebody put a comment about 10 minutes ago, I can't remember who it was, and said that maybe maybe there's going to be a twist. Maybe it's Yardley. Maybe there's going to be a twist. Maybe Man United will maybe surprise us or do something. Who knows? Because this is Manchester United. You never know exactly what's going to happen. They might have an idea in their mind that they want to go for a particular head coach or manager. In which case, if they do, then I hope it's a good one, and I hope they're going to be able to do whatever whatever people think Carrick couldn't do. Because at the moment, but the only thing is, when people post it and say, right, is this sustainable? Can Michael Carrick win in the Champions League? Can he do well in that competition and the Premier League? No one knows. Like nobody knows that at all. But if Areola comes to Manchester United, can he do the same thing? Can Areola run a Champions League campaign and do well in the Premier League? Like no one knows that either. So it's either like you've got one person in that you know what the worst case scenario is with Carrick. It's like a 1-0, 2-1 defeat. That's the kind of the worst we've seen. But the upside is we've beaten all our rivals. We've beaten all top teams. So yeah, I don't at this point in time, I don't mind people saying we're not playing well and winning games because Man United said that uh, about they said that about our club for like decades, and we won a lot of titles. People always used to say, oh, "Arsenal, look how Arsenal play; it's so nice," and then Man United would win the title every year. So I think there's definitely a bit of a trade-off. I'm not saying we can't win playing great football, but I think generally people probably look at the results and the scoreline and go, if you win 3-0, people would be hard pushed to say it wasn't a good comprehensive win. So they say when you don't play well and win games, that's when you win titles. If you play well and lose, where'd you go? Yeah, if you play well and we're apparently playing well and losing at the start of the season. So what can you do? Like if you play well and you can't win a game, there's something seriously wrong, isn't there? Yeah, Michael Carrick has had literally since January. It's like January, it's now May. And Funchy says, go and watch his Borough team again. He has a style of play for the job, but right now is here to steady the ship and make good use of what we currently have. And say not much changes all week. Now you would say this as well that if you're looking at if you're looking at the situation at Manchester United, then Michael Carrick's come in, all he's done what he had to do perfectly. Then to speculate on whether he can do it next season is different. It's the same as looking at Areola and say, can Areola manage a club of Manchester United size? No one knows. Like that, it could be a big step up for him as well. Cody says, what happens now after this Ornstein quote? I think we probably wait to see. Forest has still got things to play for. I think whatever happens is I think Man United are going to spend a bit more than people think is going to happen. Lucky says the Bournemouth manager's got no chance of survival here. So yeah, I would give Michael Carrick a 1 year deal, or maybe 1 year plus one, dependent on hitting certain targets, and then make sure they back him in the window because it doesn't matter who's going to be here if we don't if we don't get the depth we need. It's not really going to matter, is it? So at the moment, I just closed the poll. So would you give Carrick the job? 81% say yes, only 19% say no. So at the moment, most people would go for that as well. I know people are quite vocal, but again, I'll be relaxed about this. We don't know what's going to happen at the moment. Man United are going to be hopefully locking down third in the next match, so I don't think there's like need for too much drama. I think just enjoy what's happening. Yeah, Liverpool have been very lucky at the start of the season. They were playing bad and getting wins, weren't they? And then things kind of resolved themselves a bit. Now, in terms of this one, we will be trying to cover these stories as well. It's bank holiday day today in the UK, so slightly different time. There's a couple of Premier League games as well. I might be able to do a live later on today. It depends on what news comes out and what sort of stories are trending. But no, we'll kind of go back to regular content from tomorrow. But and also there might be one day next week where I'm actually not able to do a morning stream. What I'll do is I'll upload a video or something like that as well. So there will be regular content with like stories and news coming out as well. But it might be a little bit different today because of it being bank holiday. But I agree with Tony. United need to spend quite big, 6 players minimum. Feels about right. I think six or more if possible. But yeah, I think with this as well, it's only the Yeah, it's only the 4th of May, so yeah, no, I think it does matter that for me, I think most people in the comments are saying the same thing. 80% of people are saying that they'd give character jobs, so I think most people have gone down that route as well. I don't think Ariola's interested, Cody. I think Ariola wants to go somewhere else. I think he may well go to Spain, actually. I think that might, but he's been interviewed by Chelsea, hasn't he? Been interviewed by Ajax. So yeah, Ariola wants a different job. So what I would say is that with Bournemouth, Bournemouth will probably not be as good next season. Like they've had a very good season, so he's probably going out at the top where he can get a good job. If you think about Oliver Glasner, if he'd have gone a year ago, he'd have probably had a top job as well. So it's about going. It's probably about leaving at the right time, and it's probably the right time with this one. Now, fun shoot. If there's some updates or some news, then the next stream I do will hopefully there'll be something happening as well. So yeah, I don't know actually, but if his contract's up, you'd imagine it's like a few like 3 or 4 years ago, wouldn't it? Maybe. I would say that as well. Apparently, I read apparently Man United are going to be 95% selling Agate, so I don't think they're going to keep Agate, Jim. Hopefully not, anyway. Maybe it'll be a loan of option or something. But guys, I'm going to head off. Thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. Hopefully, there's a live stream this afternoon, but it depends on what news is out there. If you're in the Discord, I'll just post a link to the Discord. There's about 70, I think there's over 70 people in the Discord now. So if you're in the Discord, it's the best way of keeping in touch with other people. I'll just put a link to it now, so if you want to get involved, you can join. But that'll be kind of the community hub where if you've got ideas or stories or things you see and you want to post things there. I posted a little for people that are in the Discord, I posted a nice Koei Menu compilation from yesterday, about 5 minutes of everything he did on the weekend, which is quite nice. And there is like a couple of things there that have been posted that are scouting reports as well. So make sure you all have a great day. Enjoy the bank holiday from the UK. If not, then hopefully have a good day as well. And we'll be back hopefully sometime today, depending on news. But I'll probably be dodging football matches as well, and it will be dependent on news coming out. If there's not anything coming out, then possibly not. But otherwise, look for around sort of tea time UK time, maybe that to try and dodge the late match. But thank you for watching, guys, and we will catch you guys in the next one when I'm not 100% sure what that is, but I will post it in the Discord as well. So I will try and keep people up to date in the Discord. So if you want to join that, that's the best place to find out when we're streaming. But it will be quite routine times from tomorrow onwards.